As you know, we recently had progressive commentator David Pakman on the show.
We were delighted to have David on because we wanted to have another good faith conversation with someone on the progressive left.
Good faith to us means we let our guests speak, we challenge politely and seek to balance areas where we agree with areas where we disagree during the interview.
It means that when someone makes a good point, we accept it, and when we can't agree, we probe a bit before moving on.
And finally, it means that we don't cherry pick bits of the interviews to make our guests look bad. We don't misrepresent them, and we don't go into the conversation to destroy them. We go in to hear what they have to say.
And the great thing about David is he believes in good faith discussion as well.
Previously on TRIGGERnometry.
Beautiful. So are you guys open to a good faith conversation about that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Or does he?
After smearing us in good faith by calling us right-wing, David then proceeds by selecting a representative clip of the interview.
Let's get now to my interview with the right-wing TRIGGERnometry. Let's pick it up. Oh, I don't know. We did Biden administration. Okay, yeah, let's pick it up where we were and listen.
Operations could have gone better? Do you think that's...
When Trump was that was a quagmire.
Eventually, David finds the bit where he genuinely shows me up to be underprepared.
What I would say is I think some progress was made in a very difficult situation. I don't claim that the situation became dramatically different and we are now like way towards a solution. And also, I think I'd also concede that it's not an issue I know enough about to have a proper discussion with you as well.
That's fair. We can table it on that basis.
He's all about good faith.
So are we, which is why I will say he caught me out not being able to back up what I said. I was right. Even many Trump critics admitted that he had made progress in the Middle East, but not being able to cite specifics is my bad. Well done to David for catching me out. In good faith.
We couldn't work out why David decided to show such good faith, but then it came to us.
This is an interview on the right-wing channel TRIGGERnometry, and it's getting flooded with comments antagonizing me. So we've been brigading the video and leaving like comically positive comments. David Pakman is authentically, these comments are so positive from you guys that to us, to our community, they're obviously a joke.
In other words, some of you didn't agree with him and he got upset. He got so upset that he encouraged his audience to leave fake comments on the interview. In good faith.
So I think the comment bombs have probably been noticed at this point in time.
Now, we would never selectively edit something he said. We'll show you what he said in context instead.
Here they go like, are you suggesting that a lot of Trump followers are stupid? And I'm like, yeah, they were like,
David, can I, in the spirit of a very
this is the best.
good faith but honest conversation,
Please.
Can I feed back to you what it sounds like you just said from where I'm sitting?
Yes.
Which is, Francis was saying to you, there's a large portion of the American public who are so alienated by some of the rhetoric on the left
Right.
that they had to resort to voting for Donald Trump. That's his argument. And what you said is, no, that isn't really the problem. The problem is Americans are ill-educated and quite stupid and fall for Trump's bombastic statements. That's what it sounds like. Did I hear you right?
It's a combination of both.
Okay.
Now, here's one thing about...
But isn't that... Sorry, David, just to finish this point. Isn't that always the case, though? I mean, it's not like the public got massively more stupid and ill-educated in the last 4 years, right? Or the last 6 years. So,
well,
people have
I
always...
don't know
There's
about
always
that.
been...
Apparently, admitting that he thinks the reason people disagree with him is that they're stupid and uneducated is the best bit. He actually thinks that the discord, rancor, and bitterness of the last 6 years will be resolved by the exact sort of sneering that got Trump elected in the first place.
When we continue to challenge him on this, ironically, he does a Trump double down.
wouldn't you accept that these movements, these right-wing populist movements, we also had this here in the UK with Brexit, and it's an issue that probably I don't want to assume, but you may know less about it than we do, and certainly
Yes.
we would say in this country that the same arguments were made. These are stupid, racists, whatever people. But actually, if you speak to a lot of people who voted this way, which we didn't, neither of us did, but if you speak to those people, their concerns were not based around ill education or whatever, but it was there were some issues that they were raising that were not being reflected in the public debate, that were dismissed, and certainly from our perspective, it seemed like there were some parallels with the United States. So it's not that people got more stupid or less educated, it's more that their concerns were being more and more ignored by the left-wing parties, and they were desperate for some kind of way out, which is why they voted for Brexit and which is why they voted for Trump.
That's absolutely valid, and I have no qualms with that's what took place. I think the reason I'm skeptical to accept that the reason for Trump was that Democrats have abandoned the middle class is that more Democrats crossed party lines to vote for John McCain in 2008 than the number that crossed party lines to vote for Trump in 2016. And so I hesitate to say that that was the particular reason because the numbers don't bear it out.
No,
I
but
believe it. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt, but the thing is, you said yourself what Trump did and what Brexit did is it brought a lot of non-voters out of the shadows, if you like. So,
Exactly.
So what actually happened is these people who stopped voting for the Democrats and for Labour years and years ago because they felt like these parties stopped representing them. We have a Labour Party here in the UK that stopped representing working people, they would argue, a long, long time ago. And finally, a movement came along that actually represented them. So it's not the McCain Democrats we're talking about here. We're talking about people who are non-voters for decades, perhaps, who are now back in the fold because they're finally seeing someone represent their views. That's the argument.
So that's an empirical question, which I don't have the data in front of me to say. I've not seen any data that suggests that 20 years inactive Democrats are who came out to vote for Trump.
It's like a super specific claim. Neither one of us really had the backing to say that.
Neither of us had the backing to say that. Everyone knows non-voters is why Brexit and Trump were both surprises. Pollsters were polling people who vote, and it was people who don't vote that swung the results.
According to Britain's best-known right-wing website, the BBC, 2.8 million people who had not voted for decades voted in the Brexit referendum, and almost all of them voted for Brexit.
The same article predicts this could also happen with Trump.
David's good faith continues though when we get onto the issue of trans women in female prisons.
I don't lack compassion. What I'm trying to get at with you is, do you envisage circumstances under which it is right to put a person with a penis in a female prison?
I can envisage theoretical circumstances where it's the best of the options that are available. Yeah, I mean, right now there are no third prisons for trans people, and so if you say to me, what is more like? I mean, like, listen, let's just be very upfront. If you have a trans woman that is biologically male and has a penis, but is slight in size and has a very feminine appearance, by all statistical likelihood, they are far less likely to assault someone in a women's prison than they are to be assaulted in a men's prison. And so that's a particular case where I would say it makes sense for them to be in a women's prison, yes.
Okay.
See, our job as interviewers is to get David to say what he actually thinks, whether we agree with it or not.
And when he explains that he's content to make vulnerable women share prisons with male convicts, some of whom are sex offenders, as in the case of Karen White, our job is done.
We don't want to spend any more of the audience, time trying to win the argument. We've shown you what he thinks, and it's now up to you to decide how you feel about it.
But that's not how David thinks. He sees the conversation as a battle, and so when I suggest we move on to avoid wasting everyone's time, he thinks he's won.
We could go around for hours, but look.
All of a sudden, we've spent too much time on this, guys.
Now, we could conclude from this that trying to speak to different people from all over the political spectrum is pointless. As David explained, people who don't agree with you are stupid and uneducated. So why engage in good faith?
But that's not how we think. There are enough people on YouTube talking about how their team is good and the other team is stupid and evil.
We are not like that. We think both teams are stupid and evil. And both have valid points.
So we'll continue to have honest conversations in good faith. Thank you so much for making that possible by supporting the show. Listen, I'm very glad he came on the show. I'm glad we had the conversation that we did.
P-Dog.
The P-Dog, he came on. He had some interesting thoughts to say.
Yeah.
But also as
I
well.
get the sense that whenever one of the guys is doing the asking, the other seems kind of like annoyed that they're even talking to me.